Thanks for joining us on the Prime Time newscast on Equinoxe television, live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a good thing joining you tonight from the city of Douala. Board chairpersons in Cameroon in some state institutions are only hot seat. They are expected to be replaced by President Paul Biya latest the 12th of July as per the law in Cameroon. By that time, most of them must have gone past the 6 years maximum period provided for them to be board chairpersons of state enterprises in Cameroon. According to the law, we shall be talking this in this edition of the news, both in the first and the second segment of this edition of the news. They are 48 in number. It is out of our write-up placed on social media in Cameroon by our university done. Meantime, Uneasy Calm is returning to Bamenda, headquarters of the northwest region of Cameroon, after a tense yesterday. Bike riders march along the streets of the city of Bamenda with the lifeless body of their colleague crushed death by a vehicle. We'll tell you more on these stories and others in this edition of the news. Thanks for making the right choice to be informed by our #1 television channel, Equinoxe. Calm now reigns in the northwest regional headquarters Bamenda after commercial bike riders stormed the streets of Bamenda yesterday with the corpse of one of theirs crushed by a police vehicle. They complained that the forces of law and order in Bamenda at most times are inconsiderate in their ways of operating. We have details with Annabila Leke in the following report.
Behind this bike is the corpse of a commercial bike rider who was crushed to death alongside his passenger around the food market in Bamenda. Furious, the commercial bike riders decry what they term recklessness of some elements of the forces of law and order in the northwest region in general. The senior divisional officer for the MESAM puts in efforts at calming the angry bike riders on the same day of the incident.
Now you have come and you have come with a lot of grievances against police. Also, yes. Now wait, the president of the Canada Union and other people, they should come tomorrow in my office so that we settle all those problems. Then we make the report to the governor.
Simon Emile Mo assures them that proper investigations have been opened, ordered by the governor of the Northwest, Adolphe Lilafrique.
Now, Governor Tom say
the governor has said investigations must be carried out on what really happened.
For that place at the food market,
go and deposit the corpses in the mortuary. As the SEO said, the corpses of the rider and the passenger have been deposited at the Bamenda Regional Hospital mortuary.
From the northwest region, we take you to the neighboring southwest region of Cameroon to say that life is steadily returning to normalcy at mile 16 Bully Famba, a locality in Buya subdivision where an arson attack last Monday took the locality hostage with insecurity. Even though things seem to be moving, inhabitants say that their security is still at stake. Smart Njikan Gabriel is the man on this story.
Days after the arson on 4 cars at mile 16 Bolifamba in Buya, southwest region, activities have timidly started, with fear in the heart of those living in the neighborhood.
Where
we are walking is not safe after what happened here the other day. We are confused if we should walk or not. We call on the government to help us because we are not safe. Even though the burned vehicles have been discarded from the road to an empty site, the people of mile 16 Bolifamba say they are now very cautious. The arson of 4 cars came several months after the inhabitants of mile 16 Bolifamba have been living in peace without such attacks. The recent incident makes them to believe that they are not completely safe.
When we see all those type of things happening, I think we are unsecure. because with all those gunshots, you don't know what can happen. We are afraid of all those shooting because of, strange bullets. They can meet you at any time. So we are scared. I think the state have to do something about all this to end all this because it scares the people.
As a result of the arson on 4 cars, 1 person died due to injuries he sustained on that fateful day. The inhabitants are now praying for a lasting solution to be found for this crisis, which has lasted for so long, with lives and properties lost.
From the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon to something else, to the fight against the consumption of whiskey in Cameroon, the Minister of the Industries, Mines and Technological Development in a recent decree places a ban on the sale of sachet whiskey. Our reporter says that the ban is placed on whiskey that is placed on 50 millimeters sold in sachets in Cameroon. Lucy Essie-Lengo spoke to a civil society actor, Alphonse Ayisi, who has equally carried out several campaigns against the consumption of the liquid. Her report.
After several months of hesitation, Cameroon's Minister of Industry, Mines and Technological Development bans the production and marketing of whiskey packaged in plastics of 50 milliliters. The information is contained in a release dated 11th of April 2023. Since 2014, series of decrees have been passed by the government but later suspended. The locally made whiskey sold in plastic bags have been tested and found harmful to human health. Alphonse Ayisi Abena, civil society actor on several occasions, has campaigned against the production and consumption of the liquor. When we visit most health centers, we find people sick. Some of them have kidney failure, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart diseases. So the Minister of Trade, with the help of the government, have to implement the Minister of Industry's decision.
Because sometimes a father would prefer to consume alcohol and forget about its responsibility. Whiskey and sachet kills. It kills, as you can see on placards there.
The civil society actor applauds the minister's decision. The minister's decision is just the best because whiskey was sold for 50 francs. Beside biscuits, chewing gum, sweets, and the rest, children were exposed to it and could easily have a taste. That's why today we have a lot of youths consuming hard drugs who are becoming very wayward. Youths of today are now involved in a lot of things which are affecting the society. The release from the Minister of Industry, Mines and Technological Development calls on authorities concerned to put in place measures to ensure the implementation of the decision.
And wild winds have reportedly caused havoc in several parts of the city of Douala yesterday. The roofs of some houses got removed by the strong winds. Anabila Leke spoke to an environmentalist and he explains what the causes are and how this situation could be managed by Douala city dwellers. Her reports.
Severe winds and heavy rains have been very frequent recently in the city of Douala, just like in the northern part of the country. Wild winds took the local population by surprise, even in Douala, which is densely populated. Dr. Ekindi Mondingo is an environmentalist. He says the causes of this natural phenomenon can vary.
The clear fact is that usually high pressure winds, where we talk about high pressure system, of wind or temperature, atmospheric temperature, going to the lower side of the lower pressures. So you always have cold pressure or cold winds which build up to fill up the area which low depression. So you always have it, especially at the level of the marine domain.
The absence of trees and vegetation, plus natural blockades in the city of Douala, contrary to the Sahel region of the country, is another reason. These winds could have adverse effects not only on the environment, but on the local population.
We need to be aware to know that when it is going to rain, or when we see the skies are quite dark, then we start noticing, because normally with the process of this atmospheric differentiation, you always have some pre-warning signs, and those pre-warning signs goes with the alert which has been put at the national level. So we just need to be a little bit cautious.
People are advised to stay off any affected area or look for shelter. Environmentalists say precautionary measures must be taken by climatologists or meteorologists so as to avoid worse situations in the nearest future.
And within the context of the proper implementation of the universal health coverage, experts have evaluated the cost of treatment in hospitals today across the National Triangle at some 471 billion francs CFA, with only 6% of the population having access and health insurance. Cameroonians on their part are urging the government of Cameroon to create quality health services for the well-being of the population. Malak Glory is the lady on the story.
Cameroonians complain of the high cost of treatment in hospitals today. Experts evaluate the cost at 475 billion francs CFA each year, and only 6% of the population is covered with a health insurance. A call for the government to provide quality and affordable health facility for the common man. It means offering to the population, especially the vulnerable persons, quality health care and affordable. In an effort to solve this problem, the Cameroon's Minister of Public Health, Manauda Malashi, launched a universal health coverage in Betua, the east region of Cameroon. This to meet up with all the health challenges faced by the inhabitants. Quality and effective health care would be ameliorated. An improvement of the well-being of the population. It is said that the population in good health is the creation of riches. And when we talk of riches, we talk of the government plan of the 2035 emergence. According to the representative of the World Health Organization, quality health for the people can only be possible if good political laws governing the sector is put in place. My plea will be that the government should accelerate the adoption of the law on the coverage of universal health, which the minister has already promised the authorities. So my concern is that the law be treated as soon as possible so that it can be executed on the field. Minister Manauda Malashi, during the events that took place at the Manju ceremonial ground, said that the universal health coverage is open to all Cameroonians, especially pregnant women, children from 0 to 5 years, dialysis patients, and those living with HIV and AIDS. He also promised the people that their health issues will hence be something of the past.
And some health economists think that Cameroon's inability to properly implement the universal health care coverage or health coverage is due to the country's lack of political will to implement the Abuja Declaration, that which urged some African states to dedicate at least 15% of their annual state budget to the health sector. Cameroon, since the signing of the declaration in 2001, has been unable to meet up the objective. Cameroon, for over the years, has not exceeded 7% as far as the chunk of the national budget dedicated to the health sector. Health officials, however, hold it that it is a key factor that has been affecting the proper implementation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking you to Talking Points. As we told you today on Talking Points, we are receiving a politician. We are receiving Sylvanus Tagia Tifo. He is a member of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement political party, and of course he will be yours in Talking Points. Stay just a minute. Once again, we're glad you're staying with us in the second segment of news. Sylvanus Tagia Tifo is a member of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM political party. He is also a special advisor to the CRM national president, Professor Maurice Kamto. Sylvanus, thanks for accepting our invitation.
Thanks a lot for inviting me here. For me, I'm Tom Sanda. It's pretty long. I've not assisted in a program which you are the one hosting. Whenever that opportunity presents itself, I think it's always an honor for me to edify the televiewers of Equinoxe, and especially militants of the Cameroon Renaissance movement who are scotched on the activity watching this program.
All right, again, we're glad to have you. Now, first thing, 48 butchers of some public enterprises in Cameroon will be in a situation of irregularity by the 12th of June 2023. It is out of a study and publication done by a university professor, Professor Vivian Ondwa-Biloa, who indicated that they would have reached or passed their 6-year maximum mandate according to the law in Cameroon. This has been top on debate platforms across the national triangle. What is your reading of this publication and the noise that it's been making so far?
Mr. Fumi Armstrong, one thing I will first of all start by saying is that government action has to be based on the rule of law. And the rule of law has 7 fundamental principles. The first is that government action has to be based, the rule of law, it has to be based on laws, and that the laws must be clear. The laws must be clear, the law must be accessible, the law must respect human rights, the law must be just, and that the courts must be independent in the discharge of their duties, and finally that those laws must be established by independent, free, and that's independent or free democratic institutions. So when you look at the functioning of the state of Cameroon, there are times, and most often, we tend to question ourselves if at all government action in Cameroon is based on the rule of law. And you bear in mind with me that from the write-up of the University Dawn, it has to expose the weaknesses of the government in our nation. So I think that it is abnormal for our government to be the very first entity to violate the law, because President Paul Biya keeping these people in office against established norms is a blatant disregard of law in our nation. And I think this will boil down to the fact could sue these persons to court, and the court will pronounce on it if this is in violation of the laws of the nation, because those laws have been voted by the National Assembly, that a board chair is not supposed to go beyond 6 years.
But how much is it a problem, an issue of national interest, that these people are staying in these positions for just too long? Now, who should be blamed? Who takes the responsibility for their being there for that long?
The legal minds, they are certainly not doing their job, because the concept of the rule of law, like I told you, one of the fundamental principles is that there must be respect of human rights. Because if somebody is occupying an office for more than 6 years, which is against the law, I think he is occupying an office that would have been better occupied by another person. So the rights of that person that is supposed to occupy that office are being trampled upon. So, like I said, beside that, you will go further to understand that there is a general tendency of the regime in place to maintain a majority of Cameroonians in perpetual poverty and misery, and then to promote a certain aristocratic class of Cameroonians who are so financially buoyant at the detriment of a majority of Cameroonians. And we ask ourselves, what is the reason for such a tendency? You will bear in mind that in a country where there are fewer richer people, you find that it is very difficult, it's easy, to manipulate the masses that is living in perpetual poverty. Because if you look at the longevity of most of these people in power, you find that if they were to change hand, office was to change hand within a period of 6 years, 6 or 7 different families within a space of 30 years will be having one of their illustrious sons or daughter occupying the post of the PCI, or what they call the Director General of a state institution. With that, there are about 6 different families that will be profiting from the proceeds of the office which is being occupied by one person, and then many families that were supposed to be given certain financial injections, maybe tips, stifles by one of theirs that is in power, will be kept in total misery, darkness, and other like, and then it will be favoring just an aristocratic class at the detriment of the entire Cameroon. And with that, it is easier for the government on the eve of elections, since they know that many people are living in total misery, to go with little coins and all the like and throw to them. It's just like you beat a dog and the final you know the dog is hungry, you can throw a bone and then the dogs will run onto it.
But one would say that they have been kept there for that long because of their competencies, their know-how. That is to say that probably there are not enough people or qualified people to replace them. What do you say about this?
Mr. Formis Armstrong, and you bear in mind with me that appointment of Director Generals in state institutions, board chairman, is based on conformity and not based on competence. Most often, when I say conformity, do these people have the ability to conform to the strategy that is put in place by the person that is at the helm of the supreme magistracy of the nation? And that is why you see that with the principle of conformity, it tends to favor mediocrity, because they would want somebody that would always be saying yes, yes to the whims and caprices of the person that is up. Look at this, exactly what is happening with the National Hydrocarbon Company. You find the embezzlement and even the fraud that is allegedly being published by a senior legal mind, Barrister Akeremuna. You find that if this was to be done with the help of a person that is an experienced person, and then he knows that he doesn't want to soil his name, because most often issues of corruption have to do with a lot of network that is put in place. And when you take a sound-minded somebody that is patriotic, that wants to work for the common good of the nation, it will be very difficult for such a person to accept to be corrupted when he knows that that money will be entering into private pockets, money that would have been used maybe to revamp the economy for the betterment of the masses.
If that's the case, Mr. Silvanus, what then favors their longevity? What is then keeping them there? If it's not about competence, if there are so many other Cameroonians who can do the job and do it even better, as you put it, what is still keeping them there? What favors them? What keeps them there for that long?
Mr. Journalist, what I would say is that you know that most of the appointments of the head of state, especially to manage public institutions, is based on party affinity, and they are loyalists of the party in power. We have that impression that some of these people are placed to manage key institutions because they will siphon money that will be placed sometimes in black coffers and will be used during elections to print loans and all the like and other issues which are linked to it. So the President of the Republic, if he were such a person that have the interests of the nation at heart, I think that taking one Cameroonian to be paid with such exorbitant amount of money, managing two different institutions, would not double into it. So, but since the prime motive of the President of the Republic is that of seeing how he can conserve power for as long as it is, he will use every means to get people who will be faithful to him, especially to do some of the games, the micmacs, especially during the appointed times. And that's why you see one person within the Republic of Cameroon can occupy about 4 different posts in most of the major institutions, at the detriment of the fine brains of these nations who are in the process of brain drain. You find some of them who have gone to school, they are lettered, and they were expecting to occupy some of these posts, and when it is not there, they are pressed, they feel frustrated, and what is the outcome? They are bound to cross the seas to go and lend their expertise to the developed countries or abroad.
Now, probably I would have started from here, but now it's an interesting question. How does this very issue affect Cameroon as a nation? It has become a debate, like we indicated at the start of the news. It's been debated on all the platforms, but how does it affect Cameroon to the core? Why must every Cameroonian be on board, be concerned about the fact that some individuals are occupying places, positions as board chairs in more than one public establishment? Not only that, but they have been there for over 6 years, stipulated by the law, some going as far as 15 to 30 years in that position. Why must every Cameroonian be concerned about this? In other words, how is it a problem to a common Cameroonian?
Mr. Famba Armstrong, in a nation that the citizens are awake, any aspect of violation of law is supposed to attract the attention of the people, unless they are a lawless people, because a law-abiding citizen should be the very first person that is a guarantor, that is a guardian, is a custodian of the respect of law in that community. Like I said, we have legal minds in this nation, we have political leaders in this nation, we have civil society activists in this nation that are supposed to take this crusade, they are supposed to take the fight as theirs. They are supposed to hold the President of the Republic, they're supposed to hold our institutions accountable to the people, because if they aren't accountable to the people, I think the people are allowing their rights to be trampled upon, because we know for certain that when there's the change of power at the helm of every institution, new blood and new ideas, it leads to innovation. It leads to competition. Everybody during his tenure of office will be struggling to leave a legacy, and any other person that comes out will want to beat that legacy. But leaving a particular person to occupy a post of responsibility for as long and even exceed against the law is encouraging complacency, and complacency kills competency.
Professor Vivian Biwole Ondwa in her write-up indicated that it will just be an exemplary republic respecting the laws of the land if the president decides before the 12th of July to replace 48 of these butchers in state establishments and institutions in Cameroon. Now the question to you is if they are replaced, say tonight or early tomorrow, what change would that bring? How would that solve the problems the common Cameroonians are going through on a daily basis?
Mr. Famba Armstrong have all said, any supposed pleasure in sin will yield more than its equivalence of pain. Amidst the Anglophone crisis that broke up in 2016, you find that human life has not for some time been anything to Cameroonians, and human beings are becoming, their lives are becoming valueless. Because before 2016, the heinous crimes that are so rampant in Cameroon had not been like that. What I will say is that it is a wake-up call to every Cameroonian that it's high time we put our hands on deck and see exactly what we can do to restore the sanity of this nation, because I think everyone is getting insane. The hate speeches we found in social media, the bazooka for bazooka and all the like, and then most often it is aching because you see that the killings and all the like sometimes are perpetrated even by the most formal institutions of our nation. You understand what I'm saying? We want to take the case of Martinez, where you find that we have high profile security citizens of this nation that are involved in it, and it keeps the hearts of those enlightened Cameroonians who have the interests of the nation at heart at place. But like I said, it calls for vigilance. It calls for a total reflection. We have to go on the root cause of the general fevers, the instigatory factors that are leading to this insecurity. And I want to tell you that sometimes it's due to internal frustration, sometimes it is due to the fact that some people are seeing injustice being legalized. You got they call the Lin 94 and all the like, and then most often there are issues of hate speeches and a combination of factors. Like I said, our clergymen are failing us because I think that they are supposed to be the greatest peace crusaders. We have not seen most clergymen coming up, especially with strategies of sensitization, using the TV platform to tell the people to understand that life is not only based on the physical amassment of wealth, because sometimes you see people want to amass wealth and they forget of the fact that there is life after death. And then, in our present dispensation as a Christian, the warfare is not more carnal. We are not fighting against flesh and blood. We are fighting against powers and principalities, against spiritual wickedness in higher places. So the Christians, the Muslims, and all those who call themselves as religious and spiritual entities must go in for a crusade, a spiritual crusade. They must use all the means. Even the traditional rulers who believe in African religions should use what Africa has to fight evil.
Thank you very much, Sivan Ustaga. We're happy you took our time to discuss things with us on Talking Points.
Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte. De lundi à vendredi sur Equinoxe Télévision.
J'ai le sentiment que le commissaire du gouvernement n'avait pas suffisamment d'éléments pour considérer que l'intention de donner la mort était une intention manifeste et préméditée.
Quand vous utilisez la sanction comme élément de mesure des faits, il faut faire très attention.
C'est une ligne de conduite qu'il faudra tout de même que ces magistrats prennent en ligne de compte.
Nous critiquons la dérive dictatoriale du président national. On critique sa dérive dictatoriale et en réponse, il nous dit « Je suis un dictateur, foutez le camp de cette formation politique ».
Donc quand un parti comme le SDF est dans une difficulté pareille, on peut vous dire que nous sommes extrêmement peinés.
Sur la place publique, il y a des problèmes internes d'un parti politique qui se retrouve là. Ce n'est bon pour personne, ça n'arrange personne, mais tout ce que nous, on leur souhaite, c'est que la sérénité règne rapidement dans leur rang.
Quand vous commencez le travail à la fonction publique, quel que soit le niveau et le grade, vous devez vous renseigner pour savoir à quel âge vous partez à la retraite.
Elle doit déjà savoir qu'elle doit aller en retraite. Comme disait Madame Koyok tout à l'heure, quand tu commences un boulot, tu dois déjà savoir qu'à tel âge, ça doit s'arrêter.
La vie active d'un homme, elle est prévue selon des normes entre 15 et 64 ans.
Le contrôleur financier assure la soutenabilité budgétaire, c'est-à-dire sur le fondement de la légalité, il veille au respect de la conformité, de la régularité de l'exécution des dépenses publiques.
Bienvenue sur le plateau Equinoxe, votre décryptage quotidien de l'actualité de lundi à vendredi, 19h-21h, 18h-20h.